Part 180. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1796. When Zuyun was mourning Wan Potion. From a high position, he suddenly saw three colors of light flashing in the distance, followed by another wave of Immortal Lord's aura. Three colors, could it be Xianxia? Zuyun was shocked for no reason. In the entire Mayan Bay Fairy Kingdom, who else was there besides Xianxia? However, Xianxia only reacted now when two immortal emperors came here. Could it be that Xianxia had already colluded with them on behalf of the Mayan Bay Immortal Kingdom? It seems that Wan Potion cannot die anymore. If his luck were even worse, he might even be captured by Xianxia to make alchemy. No wonder he had such thoughts. After all, Zuyun saw the Qi immortal who was once an immortal lord. It seems to make sense that it was refined into a pill. He shrank his neck because he was afraid that Xianxia would find him. At the same time, the three-color light quickly turned into a figure, standing proudly above the three people fighting. Hey, aren't these two immortal Emperor Ximen and immortal Emperor Dongfang? You are too ungrateful to bully an old man. He was considered a rising immortal lord, so naturally he didn't recognize a sword immortal like Wan Potion. However, after seeing that Wan Potion was at a disadvantage, he could still hold on for a while, and then seeing that both immortal emperors had lost an arm, he naturally became interested. His heart was like a mirror. He had known that Ximen Yuanqing was wary of him after he cooperated with Five Elements Xianxian. Now that I see the two of them like this, I actually have the idea of helping Wan Potion. Such words were naturally meant for Wan Potion to hear. Little friend, these two dog immortal emperors are doing evil, please help me kill them together. Seeing that Zuyun had no hope, Wan Potion immediately asked Xianxia for help. At the level of an immortal, there is no such thing as a small realm. At the immortal lord level, the competition is to see who has a deeper understanding of the laws. Haha, senior, what an honor. Xianxia had this idea, and immediately joined the battle. He condensed a sky fire with one hand, and took out a blood-colored pill furnace with the other hand. Tianhuo Zuyun knew it, but the blood-colored pill furnace was weird, and the wailing sounds of children could be faintly heard along with the sound of the wind. It's strange. Logically speaking, this alchemy furnace should be used to refine those ascended 5 spiritual root immortals, right? If someone cries, it will be the cry of an adult. Why are there children? Zuyun was puzzled at first, but then he took a breath of cold air. Could it be that he also used children to make elixirs? Recall that in Huangming Xing, the outer gate of the 5 Elements sect. Those children who are slow in cultivation will be arrested to refine the 5 spirit pills. Zuyun felt that Xianxia might also do this. But the problem is, where did he get the child? In Mayan Bay Fairy Kingdom, he is also subject to movement restrictions. Even if the 5 Elements loose immortal was captured by him, the control of the Mayan Bay Immortal Kingdom fell into his hands. But if you want to use children to refine elixirs and refine so much resentment on this elixir furnace, I'm afraid the quantity is not enough, right? Unless he keeps doing it and has a steady stream of kids. The problem lies here. Zuyun couldn't help but wonder, could it be that he still has a world? Zuyun thinks like this because he has experienced the world. He didn't even have too much doubt and continued to think about this possibility. Xianxia told me that he could reach the realm of immortal lord step by step because he was caught here by the 5 Elements loose immortal and it was difficult to practice. But after I left, he went to immortal lord again. If he refines as for the elixir, it's definitely not an ordinary elixir. The 5 Elements pill can help monks with the 5 Elements root. The 5 Elements pill can help the 5 Elements loose immortals. And Xianxia practices the 3 talents law of heaven, earth, and man. Could it be that he used the 3 talents as a child to refine the 3 talents pill? Thinking of this, Zuyun couldn't help but take a breath again. This man cannot be kept. It is difficult to kill him by myself, so we can only rely on Wanpotion's hand. Under this situation, I have to go out and help them kill the two immortal emperors first, and then join forces with Wanpotion to kill Xianxia. Even if we want to find out the information about finding the demon refining tower through his hands, we must first stop him. The situation below became increasingly anxious, and Zuyun also changed his plan. And Xianxia joined in at his peak. The three talents law, coupled with the sky fire and the strange alchemy furnace, made the two immortal emperors stretched. Coupled with Wanpotion's Wuji sword technique, the law of the sword is pervasive, specifically targeting their weaknesses. Brother Dongfang, why don't you leave first? Ximen Yuanqing was sweating profusely. He could see clearly that in this situation, they could only go in and out together and reach a consensus. Let's go, of course. Why don't you go and stay here for the new year? Dongfang Bai also gritted his teeth and cursed Ximen Yuanqing half to death in his heart. Of course he knew the existence of Xianxia. Only. Ximen Yuanqing said that he was just a small person and not something to be afraid of. When they came to Mayanbei Fairyland, they discovered that this person had broken through to the realm of the Immortal Lord, but Ximen Yuanqing disagreed and told him that when he broke through, he would definitely focus on stabilizing the realm, and there was no need to care about what he would do. The two of them headed straight towards chaos. The result can be imagined. First they met Wanpotion and Zuyun, and now Xianxia joined them. I'll count 1, 2, 3, let's go together. Ximen Yuanqing roared, and suddenly lit up the fairy weapon in his hand, and 7 points of starlight suddenly appeared. 7 points of starlight flew out of the weapon, forming a huge 7-star spoon in front of him, covering the middle of Wanpotion and Xianxia. Dongfang Bai also knew that if he didn't force them back now, he would be too late to leave later. He also used his trump card, the laws on the immortal weapon surged, and the surroundings suddenly darkened. Apart from the light of the laws emerging from each of them, this place was like a void and dark night. 1, 2, 3, go. Ximen Yuanqing shouted 3 times, and the two of them withdrew at the same time. Want to run? I've been waiting for you. Wanpotion laughed loudly, and in the darkness, thousands of sword chi suddenly flashed. Both of them changed their faces. Dongfang Bai wanted to escape in the darkness, but he didn't expect that Wanpotion was familiar with his methods and took advantage of this moment to attack. Tens of thousands of sword chi, one after another, pressed towards the two people. Others couldn't see clearly. But Zuyun had been using the divine eye technique, so he could see it clearly. This was the 10,000 sword chis, and it was also the sword mountain that he returned to Wanpotion. At this moment, he finally understood why this mountain was called the Sword Mountain. It was neither a sword nor a mountain. This was the Sword Chi Mountain. In Huangming Xing, the sect that Wanpotion founded after he lost his memory was also called the 10,000 Swords Mountain. Zuyun was thinking at the time that the 10,000 represented the surname. But now, he also knew that the 10,000 was the number. A mountain composed of 10,000 sword chis. 10,000 Swords Mountain. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1797. Wanpotion actually knows it very well. In the absence of an absolute environment, even if he used Wanjian Mountain, it would be useless, so he didn't even think about using it. Moreover, this move will almost exhaust all the immortal power in his body. Otherwise, how can one mountain suppress two emperors? The Wanjian Mountain, composed of thousands of sword energies, has an extremely wide range. Even though the two immortal emperors have boundless magical powers, it is difficult to escape from the scope of this giant mountain. Despite being in the immortal mansion, Sword Mountain is not very big. But under the envoy of Wanpo Tian, this mountain fell from the sky, leaving them with nowhere to hide. Darkness envelopes darkness. In the desperate shouts of Dongfang Bai and Zimen Yuan Qing, the fairy snow on the ground was shaken up, and then transformed into chaotic fairy power, dissipating in the heaven and earth. And the two immortal emperors were also pinned down at the foot of Wanjian Mountain. Call. The law of Dongfang's defeat was broken, the sky returned to its grey appearance, and the fairy snow fell again. In a short time, Wanjian Mountain was dressed in silver. Old senior, your strength is amazing. With all this sword power, is he the most famous swordsman in the immortal world? Zhao Qinkei's eyes flashed with light, and he took the initiative to say hello. Ha ha ha, yes, it's me. Wan Potion threw the chaos sword behind him and said politely. He has always been proud of his talent, but if Zhao Qinkei hadn't helped him this time, he might have died tragically. This was a life-saving grace. He should give some face to Zhao Qinkei, who was not even stable in his immortal aura. No wonder it's like this, Zhao Qinkei said with a look of sudden realization. Senior Sword Immortal, came out of chaos. Exactly, Wan Potion nodded and said, it's a coincidence, otherwise I wouldn't have met these two dog immortal emperors. I don't know why they entered the chaos. Could it be that there is a treasure in the chaos? Zhao Qinkei glanced at him and said, it is rumored that the immortal lord disappeared into chaos. I'm afraid these two immortal emperors want to find the source of the immortal lord, right? Oh. Zhao Qinkei thought about it carefully, and it seemed that there was indeed such news back then, but it was so long ago that he couldn't remember it. Moreover, he was obsessed with swordsmanship and didn't care about the position of immortal lord at all. On the contrary, when he traveled around the immortal realm and competed with others, he also ran into a wall in front of the two immortal emperors and suffered a lot, and then he forged a grudge. It seems that these two dog immortal emperors want to be immortal masters. Oh, with their character, they also want to be immortal masters. Wan Potion sneered, but he couldn't help but think of Zuyun. He thought that boy was perfect to be the immortal master, but in the end, when his life was at stake, he ran away. This couldn't help but make Wan Potion itch with hatred. Senior Sword Immortal, what do you plan to do with these two immortal emperors? Zhao Qinkei asked again, whether it was Dongfang Bai or Zimen Yuan Qing, he helped Wan Potion take action and also formed a deadly feud. If you don't kill them, it will be detrimental to yourself. He also thought about living deep in the immortal kingdom of Mianbei, and after stabilizing the realm of the immortal lord, he could then create the world. His world of 3 talents still lacks many things, and the world is not very stable. The reason why he wanted to find the demon refining tower was because he wanted to use that tower to prop up his world of 3 talents and prevent it from collapsing. It would be a pity to kill such an immortal emperor when he looks so angry. Wan Potion shook his head and said, what's the current situation in the immortal world? I heard people say that the immortal world is in chaos. What I'm afraid of is that if I kill them, the immortal world will become even more chaotic. Zhao Qinkei's eyes flashed and he said, Senior Sword Immortal, because of the relationship between the Nangong Immortal Emperor and the Southern Immortal Territory, evil cultivators and extraterrestrial demons are rampant. And if these two Immortal Emperors are not eliminated, in time, the Eastern Immortal Territory and the Western Immortal Territory will happen to the two regions. After all, the two regions are bordering the Southern Immortal region. Furthermore, I heard that they are also colluding with Purgatory Mountain. It can be said that they will be a big problem for our immortal world. You mean, kill them? Wan Potion is just upright, not stupid. Zhao Qinkei was tempting him to take action, how could he not know? But what good does this do to him? Wan Potion also secretly kept this in mind, recalling that when Zhao Qinkei showed up, he couldn't help but help him. Maybe there is a purpose. Again. Zuyun told him that beyond the chaos was the Mianbei fairyland. This is a place he has never heard of, and it is the home of the 5 elements immortal. The 5 elements loose immortal was kidnapped by Zuyun and sent to Purgatory Mountain. This person even mentioned that Purgatory Mountain had colluded with the two immortal emperors. Wan Potion didn't need to worry about whether it was true or false. Based on what Zhao Qiankai said to him, he could judge that there must be something wrong with this person. In this case, Wan Potion chuckled lightly and said, "What do you call immortal, Lord? After talking for a long time, I still don't recognize you." Zhao Qiankai didn't know what he meant, so he cupped his hands and said, "Senior, you're welcome. My junior's name is Zhao Qiankai, and he is the king of the Mayanbei Fairy Kingdom." Zhao Qiankai. Wan Potion was shocked and scolded Zuyun again for being unreasonable. "Tell him it's just immortal Luo Tian." But who would have thought that the other party is also an immortal lord? At this time, he didn't have much immortal power, so he had a few words with Zhao Qiankai. Otherwise, according to his previous temper, his tone would be somewhat arrogant. Not to mention that it would be detrimental to him if he broke out at this time. Even though Zhao Qiankai was smiling broadly at this moment, he would definitely be the one to suffer the consequences if he fell out. It turned out to be Lord Zhao. Wan Potion bowed in return, saying, "My Wanjian Mountain can still suppress them for a long time. I think they will not be able to escape for a while. I am new here and have received help from Lord Zhao. I can only take the place of the host. In this fairyland, I would like to invite Lord Zhao to have a candlelight talk with me. What do you think?" "Ha ha ha, it's an honor," Zhao Qiankai laughed and said, "Senior, don't be so polite. The two immortal emperors have long been a scourge to the fairyland. You have done a great good deed for the fairyland. My Mayanbei fairyland is at the entrance of chaos, and it is also right. Guard this place well. It's time for the junior to invite the senior to the palace for a chat and drink." "No problem," Wan Potion rolled his eyes and said, "You and I are destined to be together. We actually joined forces to suppress two immortal emperors. This is an inexplicable immortal fate. But I have been trapped in the chaos for a long time, and I don't have anything to treat you. Senior, you are too polite. My immortal country is a poor and remote place. If you don't mind, Zhao will welcome you. Then I won't be polite." The two of them were very polite, but in fact they had their own ulterior motives. They walked towards the palace facing the fairy snow. For a long time, Zuyun appeared from the side of Wanjian Mountain. He looked at Wanjian Mountain, then looked into the distance, thinking, "What is Wan Potion up to?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzwan Xianxia. Chapter 1798. For now, Wan Potion must be looking for news about the demon refining tower again, and Zuyun guessed this. But Wan Potion doesn't have much immortal power, and Zhao Qiankai is a treacherous person. What if? No, let's follow up and talk about it later. After thinking for a moment, Zuyun used the chaos escape technique and followed quietly. Looking at the direction they were heading towards the palace from a distance, Zuyun thought. They were too close and could easily be discovered. It would be better to go directly into Zhao Qiankai's cave and wait. If he really wanted to control Wan Potion, he would not kill him directly in the palace. He would definitely take him to the cave before doing anything else. In addition, Zhao Qiankai also needs to consider whether Wanjian Mountain will lose control if Wan Potion dies, allowing the two immortal emperors to escape. Thinking of this, Zuyun suddenly had an idea in his mind. Could it be that Wan Potion had already thought of this possibility, so he deliberately did not kill the two immortal emperors directly? Based on his understanding of Wan Potion, this is extremely possible. Regardless of his upright temperament, if this kind of immortal king has no thoughts, how could he live for so long? It seems like this old thing. Zuyun couldn't help but relax a little. When he saw them turning to the palace, they flew directly to Xianxia's cave. Perhaps because of the commotion here, there was no one on duty in the cave, and we didn't encounter any patrols along the way. Lu Chen returned to this cave without any hindrance. Before I came here, there were only Xianxian. Now I am Deluo Xianxian. Why don't I see if there is any mystery hidden in this cave? Thinking that they might be able to lift him up in a short time, Zuyun couldn't help but have bad thoughts after entering the cave. When he came here before, Zuyun put all his medicine garden into the glass world. Now that he finally comes here again, he might gain something else. Just do it, Zuyun immediately used the divine eye technique. In front of my eyes, formation patterns suddenly reappeared. And as his realm increased and he became the great Luo Golden Immortal, the envoys of the divine eye technique were far better than before, and they could see the hidden formation patterns that they had never seen before. Huh? There are actually extraordinary formations deep in this cave? It seems that they are, arranged according to the laws of space. Zuyun was immediately attracted by the formation patterns deep in the cave. Compared with the formation patterns in other directions, the power of space here is more obvious. Although the layout of this cave involves the laws of space, at the deepest point, the flow of the power of laws on the space formations is even more conspicuous. Come to think of it, this contains Xianxia's trump card. Go over and take a look. I can't beat him now, so it would be a good idea to destroy him. With this thought, Zuyun's body shook one after another, and finally he went straight in and stood in front of the formation pattern. After getting closer, some formation patterns that were slightly lighter in color and difficult to detect also came into view. It seems a bit complicated, but it's not a problem for me. Zuyun frowned and watched the flow of these formation patterns carefully. The direction in which the power of law flows determines the complexity within this space. Zuyun's brows deepened. Even among the laws of space, we can vaguely see some laws of time. There is space, and there is time. Is this a world of its own? Zuyun took a breath of cold air. Based on his understanding of the laws of time and space, whether it was the laws of space or the laws of time, Xianxia did not merge into one on this formation. Even if it is a world, come to think of it, it's not complete either. Why don't you break it open and take a look? This is a world of one side. Not to mention what I can get from it, at least I can understand Xianxia's understanding of the creation of a world of one side. Zuyun was also shocked. He was worthy of being an immortal who practiced the three talents way. It's really amazing to have such ability. Zuyun was immersed in his mind and carefully watched the flow of the power of these laws, but he did not gain much. After thinking for a moment, he took out his fairy mirror. The fairy mirror floated in front of Zuyun, constantly rotating, integrating the power of the two laws emanating from the front and back sides, and then pouring it into the formation pattern in front of him. Instantly, a mysterious feeling appeared in Zuyun's mind. Within a moment, he could see the gate of this world through the flow direction of the power of the law of time and space. I see. The formation had been unlocked. Zuyun just had a thought in his mind and flashed his figure, breaking into it from the gate of the formation. Boom! As soon as the figure appeared, there was a loud sound in the sky. Huh? This is really a world? But why? Zuyun saw the scene in front of him clearly and felt a single breath of power flowing in the air. It is lower than immortal power, but higher than spiritual energy. Before he could react, he heard this loud noise like a collapse of the sky. Click. Above the nine heavens, a large piece of space suddenly peeled off, like a glass lamp breaking into pieces. After this piece landed, strong winds blew up, and waves of free chaotic power slowly poured in from the gap in space. As these chaotic forces become more and more numerous, the cracks in the broken nine heavens are cracked piece by piece. Boom! The sky is falling. Damn it, I'm an immortal, I can't enter a world where the way of heaven is incomplete. Zuyun finally reacted. Today, It is a vicious cycle. The larger the gap, the more chaotic power will flow in. The more chaos power there is, the more the world will collapse. There are still ordinary and basic laws in this world. I don't know if there are any mortals living here. Zuyun took a deep breath. The creatures here were innocent. If a creature died in vain due to his unintentional mistake, he would definitely feel guilty. Since it is caused by the power of chaos, can I mend the world first? At least, I can make the collapse of this world slower. Thinking of this, Zuyun stood up and summoned the chaos immortal power in his hands, rushing towards the gap. Wow! In an instant, the grey power surged toward the gap. Under Zuyun's control, the chaos immortal power was condensed, like a large piece of iron, covering the gap from bottom to top. And those free chaotic powers were naturally worse than Zuyun's chaotic fairy power, and they were immediately pushed back into the void. There is no doubt that beyond the world, there is chaos. Zuyun squinted his eyes and saw that there were still some chaotic forces surging around in this world. It was the chi refining method of running the 5 elements of Chaos Sutra that instantly sucked them into his body. Refined into his own chaos immortal power. At the same time, the sky collapsed, and Zuyun Butian fell into the eyes of the mortals in this world. The sky has fallen, and immortals will come to repair it. Is it Zhao Xianxian? No, it's not Zhao Xianxian. When Zhao Xianxian performs his magic, he has 3 colors on his body. This Butian Xianxian has 5 colors in his body. They are different. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1799. What about Zhao Xianxian? Where has he gone? I don't know. The sky is falling. Has he given up on us? What a shame. Zhao Xianxian wants us to enshrine our most gifted children to him every once in a while. How many years have we been doing this for generations, and how many children has he taken away? The sky is falling, but he doesn't care about our life or death. A group of mortals clenched their fists involuntarily and said angrily. Everyone vented their resentment, but they all looked at Zuyun under the 9 heavens with pious eyes. At this time, the grey-white gap blocked by the chaos immortal power no longer collapsed like before. But as long as Zuyun is still there, his own immortal power will continue to affect this side of heaven. The world simply cannot bear it. It's patched up here, but other places will still slowly collapse. Because there will always be a gap, and the force of chaos will come in from the outside and take advantage of every opportunity. The gaps are irregular, and the sky is not flat either. Zuyun focused on one thing and lost the other. Even if he continued to absorb the chaotic power into his body, it would be of no avail. It seems that I still underestimated you. Zuyun smiled bitterly and planned to give up and leave this world. But just as he was about to leave, he felt a subtle power of faith. He was slightly startled. Are there any people in this world who believe in him? Impossible. Subconsciously, he turned back and looked in the direction where the power of faith was coming. When his eyes reached him, he was stunned. I saw. Thousands of miles away, very far away. Countless mortals knelt on the ground devoutly, kowtowing and worshipping. And the direction is exactly towards him. Zuyun was not making random guesses. He used the divine eye technique. It can be clearly seen that the power of these beliefs follows their direction. The power of faith provided by each person is very weak. But it can't stand the thousands, millions, tens of millions of tribesmen who add up to a small number. There are so many mortals in this world. Zuyun took a breath. He originally thought that it would be good if there were ordinary creatures in this world. But I didn't expect that. I had never seen other living beings, but I saw so many people. In this world where the law of heaven is incomplete, can there be people? Zuyun had a moment of enlightenment. He was born as a human being, and if he were one of those creatures who had not yet developed their spiritual wisdom and died, he would not have too many worries or guilt in his heart. But they are all living people. And, they believe in me extremely now. Zuyun said to himself, his voice trembling a little. If he abandoned them, he would feel extremely guilty. Since they are my believers, then I should not give up on them. Just like the former Qingping fairy kingdom. For a moment, Zuyun had the illusion that he was floating above the 9 heavens, just like he had blocked the yang fire that was ravaging the world for the immortals of Qingping fairy kingdom. If you can save them, put them directly into the glass world. Zuyun's eyes gradually condensed, but in this moment of distraction, the chaotic power in the chaos washed away the spaces again, and the gap became larger again. The world also shook more violently. He turned around and looked at the chaos immortal power that he had condensed for repairing the sky. At this rate, I can't keep up with the collapse. Sooner or later, the whole sky will collapse. When the chaos force pours in, thousands of living things here will be killed. Zuyun entered it from the Mayan Bay fairyland and knew that the power of chaos in chaos would turn into fairy snow after entering the fairyland. And entering this ordinary world, if it falls on the ground, it may turn into snow, or it may turn into fire. It might turn into gangfeng, or it might turn into deadly sharp gold. It can become anything, and it can take the lives of thousands of people. Mortals can't bear it. Sighing again, Zuyun took out the fairy mirror with a flick of his hand. I can't mend the sky, I can only slow down the complete collapse of this world. The law of time, time stops. As soon as he finished speaking, a flash of white light suddenly appeared above the fairy mirror. The fairy mirror also suddenly grew larger. Under Zuyun's control, he actually put the entire fairy mirror into the gap instead of his condensed chaos power. This will cause all the laws of time on the fairy mirror to act on the collapsed gap. He used magic to stop time, but he couldn't stop it. It can only make the collapse of the world slower. As long as he slows down a little, Zuyun will have time to save this mortal thousands of miles away. Teleport. Zuyun appeared in a tribe with just a thought. The sky here collapses and the world no longer exists. Are you willing to follow me to a more complete world on the other side? Zuyun doesn't want to be angry, he doesn't have much time. There are countless tribes in this world. Each tribe only has about a few 100,000 people. He couldn't explain everything one by one. Bushan Immortal, I am willing. Everyone knelt down and were extremely respectful. Good. Zuyun didn't care what these people called him. As long as he agreed, he could use the power of these people's faith as an imprint and easily integrate it into the Liulai world. With just a wave of his hand, these people disappeared. Next place. Zuyun's figure flashed, and in just one breath, he appeared in front of a tribe again. The sky here collapses and the world no longer exists. Are you willing to follow me to a more complete world on the other side? Same question, same response mentioned. So back and forth. Soon, tens of millions of people, mortals from hundreds of tribes, were all taken away by Zuyun. At this time, it was somewhat difficult for the immortal mirror to prevent the collapse of the world. Pieces of space broke through the walls. Why? Zuyun sighed. The fairy mirror returned to its original size and appeared in front of him in a flash. The next moment. Boom. The world of Xianxia is completely shattered. Countless chaotic forces poured in instantly. I don't know what Xianxia will think if he can't find his own world. Zuyun was also the first to see so much chaos power, but he didn't care. Instead, the corners of his mouth curled up, thinking about Xianxia's reaction. These chaotic forces will destroy the world, but they cannot destroy him. Let's just refine them all. It's rare to see so much chaos power in chaos. Zuyun sat down cross-legged and allowed these chaotic forces to surge in and wrap him up. He consumed a lot of energy. Not only was the Chaos Lotus wilted, but the glazed world connected to him was also slightly affected. What he was thinking was, could he use these chaotic powers and transform them into chaotic immortal powers to feed back into the immortal mansion, and then transform them into the original power? If possible, it seems that my strength can increase by another 10%. The world of colored glaze is closely related to him. This is a rare opportunity to give it a try. Zuyun closed his eyes. But in the palace, Xianxia, who was chatting happily with Wan Potion, stood up with a look of disbelief on his face. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1800. Zhao Qiaozu, what's wrong? Wan Potion asked calmly. He felt a trace of murderous aura from Xianxia. Something happened in the cave. Senior, please wait a moment. Junior, please come back as soon as you go. Xianxia turned around to leave, but Wan Potion was enthusiastic and said, Zhao Qiaozu, your business is my business. You have helped me a lot. If I, Wan Potion, were so sensible, wouldn't my life have been in vain for so many years? After sitting here and chatting with Xianxia for a while, he recovered a little, and he guessed that Xianxia was worried that he would take back Wanjian Mountain, so he was a little bit unscrupulous. Xianxia looked stern and said, thank you for your concern, Senior. This junior's personal matter is also a small matter. I will be back in half an hour at most. That's it. This obvious rejection made Wan Potion even more interested. On the surface, he remained calm, but in fact he had already decided to follow secretly, so he nodded and said, then I will wait here for you for a while. If you don't come in an hour, I will definitely go over and help. Senior is interested, Junior, come as soon as you go. Xianxia was anxious and didn't want to waste time here, so he casually made a fuss and left quickly. But unknown to him, Wan Potion's heart moved, but the immortal soul came out of his body and turned into an inconspicuous gray-white sword light. The sword light passed away quietly, and thanks to the cover of the chaotic fairy snow in the fairy kingdom, no one could detect it. Even Xianxia, worried about his own world of 3 talents, only noticed that no one was following him and did not look back much. When he was the immortal Luo Tian, he was one person inferior to 10,000 people in the immortal kingdom. Not to mention taking advantage of the incident with the 5 elements loose immortal, he quickly refined the 3 talents blood pill, and then triggered the immortal tribulation, thereby becoming an immortal lord in one fell swoop. What is the reason that caused my Sankei world to collapse? His face was extremely gloomy, just like Zuyun, and the world he created was also one of his main sources of immortal power. Although the way of heaven is not too stable, there are no problems in other aspects. In his opinion, only one Optimus Prime is needed to hold up the 9 heavens and stabilize the world. By then he can truly attain the great Dao in the immortal realm. And the demon refining tower is the perfect immortal weapon that he has chosen. Could it be that someone entered the chaos and accidentally discovered my world of 3 talents? The chaos is huge and there are very few people entering it. It can't be such a coincidence, right? Xianxia knew a lot, and even understood chaos better than all the immortal lords. It is only due to the innate conditions that he walks slower than Zuyun on the path of creation. At the same time, Zuyun walked through hundreds of tribes. Everywhere he went, there was only one sentence. But there is no doubt about it. These mortals are willing to go to Zuyun's glazed world. It's almost time. Is this the only tribe left? Zuyun's figure flashed and appeared in front of the last tribe. This is the farthest place in the world of Sankei. Along the way, he found that what he saw and heard were almost exactly the same. Mortals, regardless of ethnic group, wear the same ragged and simple clothes. Most of them are animal skins and coarse cloth. And all along the way, there is nothing but wilderness. It can be seen that the living conditions of these people are extremely difficult. However, One can often feel an inexplicable spiritual energy coming from these people. It was completely different from the yellow star where he was. He looked at it with the divine eye technique. There are only 3 attributes, and you can naturally guess that they are related to Xianxia's 3 talents. However, he has never practiced the 3 talents path with concentration, and he doesn't know much about it. He also stayed on the understanding of heaven, earth, and people regarding the 3 talents law. The world here is about to collapse, you guys. This time, before Zuyun finished speaking, an endless pressure came from Jushin. The next moment, Zhao Qiankai appeared in front of him with an angry face. Zuyun, it's you. When he appeared in this world, he felt the loss of his original power. What frightened him even more was naturally the huge fairy mirror on the dome. At first, he thought that the collapse of the world was due to this inexplicable fairy weapon that destroyed his sky, so he thought of using his own laws of the 3 talents and the original power of the 3 talents in this world to repair the sky, preferably with you can refine this magical weapon. But who would have thought that he found that he could not control the original power at all? If he felt it carefully, the only human race here was the tribe here, with a total of more than 1,000 people. He hurriedly used the law to dodge here and found Zuyun. Yes, it's me. Zuyun was shocked. He didn't bother to move the human race here. Zhao Qiankai is now an immortal lord. If he attacks him immediately, he will not even have a chance to breathe. Why did you appear in my world of 3 talents? If I don't remember, should you have left chaos? Zhao Qiankai could easily squeeze Zuyun to death, and he was in his world. But he didn't do that. Because he wants to know where the people here have gone. I haven't left the chaos, I've been in the chaos, Zuyun reacted very quickly. Zhao Qiankai didn't take action immediately. He guessed what Zhao Qiankai was thinking, so he just said in a confused way, you know, I think I stayed here to look for the source of origin, but I was attracted by the mirror in the sky. Who knew that the mirror suddenly destroyed the world and even me was sucked in? Huh? Are you immortal Lord Zhao? Congratulations. Zuyun was talking nonsense, and he dared not breathe in his heart. At the same time, he also connected his mind completely to the fairy mirror. As long as Zhao Qiankai showed any signs of taking action, he would immediately use the fairy mirror to shine the fairy light. This fairy light is the law of time and space. As long as he can buy him half a breath of time, Zuyun can escape back to his own glass world. Zhao Xianxian, why did you come now? At this time, all the mortals came to their senses and knelt down crying. The sky collapsed, why didn't you come to save us? If it weren't for this Xianxian, flying up to the sky to repair the sky, I'm afraid we would all die. We have offered you the boy with the root of the 3 talents for several years, just to seek your protection, but... Zhao Qiankai's eyes were stern. He wanted to inquire about the news from Zuyun, but he didn't expect that these would ruin his business. Immediately, he reached out his hand. 3 rays of light suddenly appeared between his hands. Heaven, earth, and man. The brilliance of the representative shattered. And these mortals turned into blood foam. Zuyun suddenly reacted. As he expected, this Zhao Qiankai secretly used the mortals in his own world to make pills. Logically, he couldn't care less, and it had nothing to do with him at this time. But the problem is, after he decided to bring all the mortals here to the world, he already regarded these people as his own children. Not to mention, these people also provided him with the power of faith. Zhao Qiankai. Zuyun suddenly shouted, and when he frowned and turned around, the fairy mirror on the dome suddenly shot down 1,000 feet of light. The power of the law of time and space enveloped him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1801. Boy Zuyun, how dare you lie to me? Xianxia is also an immortal king after all. He found that the power of law on the immortal weapon was coming towards him. How could he not know that the aura was exactly the same as Lu Chen's hand? He didn't need to know how Zuyun deceived him, he only needed to know that he would do it to him. Immediately, he ignored these mortals and raised his palm towards the sky to greet them. Sky. The power of the three laws and human laws in his hands have been crushed, causing those mortals to die directly. The remaining two, in his low voice, soared into the sky and faced the light of the fairy mirror. Immediately afterwards, he turned his other hand over and shouted, "Ground." The last law, with its majestic immortal power, attacked Zuyun. Instantly. These two laws caused the earth to collapse and the world to shake uncontrollably. What a powerful force! Zuyun couldn't help but exclaimed. Where was the obstruction? He immediately turned over and rolled towards the side. Originally, he wanted to escape back to the Liulai world immediately. But then I thought about it, I was afraid it wouldn't work, it would be easy to escape by myself, but wouldn't this fairy mirror be left here? When he rolled to avoid it, his mind was like lightning, and he suddenly thought of a brilliant idea. As long as the world collapses, it will be equivalent to him appearing in chaos. But in chaos, even if Xianxia is the immortal lord, so what? Before he got up, Zuyun also raised his hand. Time stands still. Suddenly, the law of time met Xianxia's law of earth from the side. The two forces of law collided and made a loud noise, causing the ground of the world of the three talents to vibrate more intensely, but the frequency of the vibrations became much smaller. Although he has mastered the law of time, his realm is still a little weak after all. Even if he uses the power of Chaos Immortal to control him, it only narrows the gap. At most, Zuyun has the strength comparable to Luo Tianxian. But we are still far away from the immortal lord, so we can only let time flow slowly. Despite this, Xianxia was greatly surprised. Boy, are you so proficient in the law of time? Ordinary immortals cannot practice the law of time at all. And every immortal who practices the law of time is by no means an ordinary immortal. Without great perseverance and time, who can cultivate to this level? Looking at Zuyun again, he came to Mayanbei fairyland and saw another five-spirited monk ascending. The gifted son must never be allowed to live. He can even enter my world of three talents. Xianxia's eyes showed murderous intent, and he felt that he should not have been deceived by Zuyun's words just now. His excuse was to enter the world of three talents from chaos, but this fairy mirror is also his fairy weapon, and it is so extraordinary. Presumably, he entered it from his own cave. He is so scheming, he must be killed. Land. He turned his hand, and another law attacked Zuyun. But at this time, Zuyun had already stood up. At the same time, because the fairy mirror could no longer patch the sky, and because it mirrored Xianxia's law of heaven, a more intense collapse occurred. Pieces of domes fell like glass fragments, and more chaotic power poured into them. Zuyun already felt a pressure. But he knew that Xianxia was under greater pressure. Even if you are an immortal, the pressure from chaos will only be greater. The law is like light, pointing directly at the center of the eyebrows. But there was a sarcastic smile on Zuyun's lips. Chaos escape technique. Before the dim light of the earth law arrived, Zuyun had already turned into a touch of gray and fled away. The earth law fell into the air and hit the ground. The vibration became more intense, and several cracks in the ground opened at the same time, and they were bottomless. What kind of escape technique? Why is it so fast? Xianxia was shocked, his immortal consciousness spread out, but he suddenly found the light of the immortal mirror, which shattered his previous laws of heaven and suppressed him. Sky. He stretched out his middle finger and shot another ray of law power towards the fairy mirror. But this time, it was much weaker than before. The brilliance emitted from the fairy mirror is the law of time and space. Xianxia's law of heaven was greatly reduced in power due to the collapse of the sky. This time, it was suppressed by the law of space and time. What kind of law is this? Xianxia was so frightened that he never expected that Zuyun could deal with him for such a long time. And at this moment, a ring with a terrifying aura fell from the sky, hidden in the mirror light, and hooded his head. What's this? Xianxia felt something was wrong, but he didn't try to hide, he just turned his hand and slapped it again. This time, he directly combined the three laws of talent into one, and the three rays of light blasted towards the ring. However, this blow is even more useless. Because this is the Emperor Chain. It is the Emperor Chain after Zuyun has integrated it. The light of the three talents did not dissipate, but passed through the center of the Emperor Chain and shot straight into the sky. The Emperor Chain was not affected and flew down quickly. Lu Chen also didn't expect that, he just wanted to try his luck, but the other party was so careless that the light of these three talents would pass through the Emperor's chain. In this case, what else is there to say? There is no need to go to chaos. The laws of time and space cover him. Zuyun tried his best, the Emperor Chain was already down, all he needed to do was distract the opponent for a moment. Inside his body, the Chaos Lotus also began to tremble, and all the Chaos Immortal power surged out at this moment. One breath, even if it was only one breath, it was enough. Zuyun's eyes were about to burst, and he slammed down. In conjunction with the time law of the immortal mirror, it was like a two-sided attack. What kind of law is this? Xianxia was finally scared. Why? He was obviously the immortal king, but Zuyun could suppress him. And in this panic, the Emperor Chain was completely put over his head. Trapped. Zuyun was overjoyed, and shouted in his heart. The light of the immortal Dao appeared on the Emperor Chain, and instantly tied Xianxia to it. Then, an inexplicable force suppressed his immortal power and law, making Xianxia look like a mortal. No, impossible. Xianxia roared heartbreakingly. He did not die at the hands of the two immortal emperors, nor did he die at the hands of the five elements loose immortals. But in the end, he was countered by Zuyun in his own world of three talents. Even if Zuyun is also an immortal, he can accept it. The law of time and space also enveloped at this time, and the inexplicable tearing force made Xianxia, who was unable to resist, feel extremely painful all over his body. He had no power to use, so he was naturally unable to resist. But it must be said that the immortal body of the immortal was strong. Even if he was unable to resist, he could still breathe a sigh of relief. Xianxia, you are refining pills with the human race, and you can be killed for this. Zuyun took a deep breath, looked up at the sky that continued to collapse, and said, Zuyun, I am refining pills with human immortals, but that was forced by the five elements loose immortals. Xianxia roared. It is understandable to be forced by others, but you use mortals in this world to refine pills. Xianxia suddenly widened his eyes and said angrily, this is the world I created with the law of three talents. Their lives are all from me. What qualifications do you have to manage? But at this time, a black shadow, surrounded by countless chaotic forces, flew in from the hole in the dome and slammed towards this place. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1802. Zuyun quickly looked over, but the black shadow was heading straight towards here, and coupled with the swirling power of chaos, he couldn't see clearly what was flying for a while. Shen-I technique. When his heart moved, his eyes lit up. When he saw clearly what the black shadow in the chaos force was, a look of surprise appeared on his face. It turned out to be the demon refining tower. In this case, there is no need to ask Xianxia how to find the demon refining tower. Zuyun's heart was surging. He recalled what Wan Potion had told him that Zhu Feng had improved a lot, and his heart suddenly became extremely excited. Boom! Until, the demon refining tower suddenly fell to the ground, and when he saw the familiar double-open copper doors, Zhu Yun's heart also moved. However, he did not directly enter the demon refining tower. After all, Zhao Qianke was still trapped here by the emperor's chain. He looked back and found that Zhao Qianke did not move, but kept struggling to get rid of the emperor's chain, so he stopped looking at him and turned back to stare at the copper gate. Boom! There was a dull sound, and the copper door opened wide. A familiar figure walked out, carrying the darkness in the tower. Bless the wind! Just from the outline of his body, Zhu Yun recognized him as his half-brother. No doubt about it. He even felt that the two of them had similar bloodlines. Brother! Zhu Feng was surprised at first, and then said ecstatically, "Why are you here?" He rushed over and was extremely excited when he saw Zhu Yun. "It's hard to describe, good boy, you are an immortal too." Zhu Yun could see Zhu Feng's realm and found that he had also reached the realm of Golden Immortal, and might even break through to Deluo Golden Immortal at any time. He was very happy in his heart. "But I still can't catch up with you, big brother." Zhu Feng smiled, then looked at Zhao Qianke behind him, and then said, "Brother, where is this place?" "I was practicing peacefully in the demon refining tower, but suddenly I noticed something strange, so I came out to take a look." This change was probably caused by flying into the world of Xianxia. Zhu Yun looked up and saw that the gap in the sky was already huge. Countless chaotic forces poured into this place. He thought that before long, the world of Xianxia would be destroyed. It collapsed directly, so he said, "You can fly, right? Take your demon refining tower and let's enter the chaos. Otherwise, if the world collapses, who knows what will happen?" Zhu Yun gave an order, and Zhu Feng listened and obeyed, turning his head to look towards the demon refining tower. Zhu Yun was also preparing to control the emperor chain and tie up Zhao Qianke and take him to chaos for further processing. It doesn't matter whether it's killing or beheading. But I never thought that an accident would happen at this moment. As soon as he turned around, he saw the power of mysterious laws that Zhao Qianke was mumbling in his mouth. The power of this law does not belong to Zhao Qianke himself, nor is it controlled by the immortal power in his body. But it took shape in front of him. "Zhao Qianke, what the hell are you doing?" Zhu Yun was shocked and quickly controlled the fairy mirror and threw it at him. The immortal lord has many tricks, and he doesn't even know what mysterious tricks Zhao Qianke has. He finally met Zhu Feng, how could he let him ruin a good thing? But what he didn't expect. Before the immortal mirror arrived, the demon refining tower suddenly appeared in front of him. Wow! Originally it was just an ordinary tall tower. But under Zhao Qianke's rules, the demon refining tower suddenly grew into a giant pillar and soared into the sky. At this time, all the chaos power in its body spread out, blocking the fairy mirror. Boom! The fairy mirror was smashed, but the chaos force was like substance. Even the fairy mirror couldn't be smashed open. Lu Chen was shocked. What's going on? Zhu Feng, on the other hand, looked at his demon refining tower with a blank expression, as if he had suddenly lost control. Ha ha ha! At this time, Zhao Qianke laughed maniacally. "Zhu Yun, how could my world of 3 talents be destroyed so easily? The laws of the 3 talents here have been completed, and everything is ready. All it needs is a giant to hold the sky. The pillar is stable. If you hadn't mentioned the demon refining tower, I would have almost forgotten about it. Thanks to this fairy friend for sending me the demon refining tower." Amid Zhao Qianke's wild laughter, the demon refining tower rose higher and higher, reaching the gap in the dome. The power of laws formed by Zhao Qianke's chanting of the incantations turned out to be the way of heaven in the world of 3 talents. Zhu Yun ignored the most important point. The world belongs to Zhao Qianke. Even if he cannot move and control the immortal power and laws, he can still control the world of the three talents with his thoughts. He forgot that he could also control the original power of the Liuli world. Zhu Feng, see if you can take back control of the demon refining tower so that the world will completely collapse. Zhu Yun roared angrily, and then used the divine eye technique to reveal the top of the demon refining tower and look at it. I saw countless mysterious powers emerging from the top of the demon refining tower, affecting the chaos power pouring in from the chaos, slowly filling the gap. Although very slow, but it is very effective. The power of chaos can destroy the dome of this world of three talents, but why can it also repair this dome? For a moment, Zhu Yun was a little unresponsive. Brother, no, I can't feel the demon refining tower at all. Zhu Feng's voice came again. But before Zhu Yun could speak, he heard Zhu Feng say loudly again, brother, if it really doesn't work, I will enter the tower, and as long as I get to the 9th floor, I can ask An Niao to help me. I don't believe it, you are kidnapped by me. The guy who lives there can also let his immortal consciousness completely penetrate into the space in the tower. In comparison, Zhu Feng knows the demon refining tower better than Zhu Yun, not to mention that this is only the second time Xianxia has seen the demon refining tower. Zhu Feng, will everything be okay? Brother, I'm taking care of things, don't worry. A look of determination flashed in Zhu Feng's eyes, and he opened the bronze door and got in. As he disappeared, he left behind a few words. Brother, I used to hold you back, but now, I'm here to help you. Quite an aura of one that will never come back. Bless the wind. Zhu Yun screamed, and there was another loud roar. He turned around again, and it turned out that the fairy mirror had just hit him, knocking Xianxia, who was bound by the emperor chain, to the ground on his head. Ha ha ha, Zhu Yun, my giant pillar of the sky has been completed. Although this world has no living beings, it is still a complete world. When the dome is completely repaired, how can you kill me? With the body of the immortal lord, Zhu Yun only hit the opponent to vomit blood, and Xianxia also used the force to roll on the ground, rolled straight into a crack in the ground, and disappeared. Damn it! Zhu Yun yelled, if Xianxia hides and the world is successful, the law of heaven will limit his strength. How can he still find it? Let Xianxia escape alive, I'm afraid there will be endless troubles. Zhu Yun's heart condensed, and a look of determination flashed in his eyes. I have no choice, I can only do my best. I hope the Chaos Emperor chain will not let me down. With the synthesis of the Chaos Emperor chain, as long as Xianxia is not allowed to escape, he still has a glimmer of hope. Zhu Yun stretched out his hand, and the time-space fairy mirror flew back into his palm. He suddenly grasped the edge of the mirror with both hands, and his fairy power surged out. At the same time, he frantically mobilized the original power of his glazed world. Time and space, go back. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1803. The last time Zhu Yun used the law of time and space was to see where Sun Qiniang had gone. Although I didn't use it much later, I also knew that the more powerful the law, the higher the requirements for one's own strength. At the same time, it is also subject to the opponent's strength. Xianxia escaped into the cracks in the ground. With the cover of the origin of this world, Zhu Yun could not feel the existence of the Chaos Emperor chain at all. That's why he wanted to go back in time and let Xianxia return to where he was. At that time, he will not give Xianxia another chance. But Xianxia is also an immortal king, 2 realms higher than Zhu Yun. Zhu Yun doesn't know if it will work. He can only try his best. In the glazed world, whether it is the original power, spiritual power, pseudo-immortal power, or the power of faith. There are even those Sankei humans who have just arrived in this world and have not come back to their senses. The power of their 3 talents was also condensed with the power of faith, and all of it was transmitted to the immortal mansion through the golden statue. Through the transformation of the immortal mansion, it became chaos immortal power and was transferred to Zuyun again. As for the dragon suppressing stone, it just happened to return to the immortal mansion. Knowing that Zuyun must be at a critical moment, it transformed into its true form and became a huge red demonic dragon, hovering in the center of the immortal mansion. Give it your all. It can be said that at this moment, all the creatures in Liulai world are not stingy for Zuyun. Because they know that if they want to become immortals, they must make this world great. They don't know how the world will turn out, but they want to keep Yun safe. I wish Yun is well, then the world may be successful. This is the main reason why they are united. Not only that. In the Forbidden Valley that originally belonged to the Destiny Demon clan, the water of Hualong Pond also changed. Countless dragon powers in the pool were also pulled, and streams of air surged out of the pool, condensing into strips of true dragon-shaped gas, and rushing toward the immortal mansion. The dragon-suppressing stone does not reject anyone who comes, and all of it is transformed into chaos immortal power, which is then used by Zuyun. With this constant source of immortal power, Zuyun's confidence doubled. In front of him, the scenes that happened before were slowly flowing back. The crack in the ground, which was originally like a long and narrow abyss, slowly closed up after Zhao Qianke escaped from it under the control of San Ke world. But the law of time and space caused it to flow backwards, and it slowly cracked open again. Work harder. Feeling the endless power, Zuyun finally understood the horror of having a world as his backing. His confidence soared and he shouted again, "Go back in time and space." The low sound made the flow back a little faster again, and the cracks in the ground suddenly opened up. Boom! 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 From under the cracks in the ground, there came a trance-like voice, light and crisp. Zuyun knew that this was the collision between the Emperor chain and the crack in the ground. He couldn't help but feel a little excited in his heart. This time, if Zhao Qianke comes up, no matter what he says, we must use all our strength to kill him here. Immortal Mirror. Although it is a supreme magical weapon, it seems not very useful for killing people. Immortal Soul Hammer. Even if you are an immortal lord, the immortal soul is still afraid of this hammer. Zuyun took a deep breath, and the chaotic power in his body continued to pour into the time and space fairy mirror. This is the source of time and space reversal. The light curtain formed by the laws projected by the fairy mirror is actually the river of time and space. It has the same purpose as the long river of time and space, but slightly different. The purpose of the long river of time and space is to fish people out of it. And the time and space reversal is to make the time here go back to the past. Zuyun concentrated his mind and watched as the crack slowly stopped moving, and the muffled sound was getting closer and closer. He was so focused that he didn't even blink. Until a black shadow, with a look of horror, rolled back without any resistance. Rolled all the way to the feet of Zuyun. Why is this so? Is this the law of time? Impossible, impossible. In his panic, Zuyun took out the immortal soul hammer. Zhao Qianke, this is the fusion of time and space, and it is the law of time and space. This is the backward flow of time and space, so that you will understand. Every time Zuyun said a word, there would be a shock in his chest. Then, he freed up a hand and grabbed it from between his eyebrows. The immortal soul hammer was suddenly drawn out. Immortal soul hammer. Why do you have Nangong Tianli's immortal weapon? Amidst the screams, Zuyun hit his head with the hammer. No. Zhao Qianke screamed in fear and had a splitting headache. But his body was intact, but his immortal soul was like the previous dome of the world of 3 talents, with a large piece broken off. If you can't die with one strike, give it 2. Zuyun raised the immortal soul hammer with one hand again. Ah! Crash down. Smash it again. Smash it again. 10 strikes. Hundreds of blows. Thousands of blows. Until Zhao Qianke made no sound, Zhu Yunke collapsed to the ground. Dead. His consumption was great. The chaos lotus withered, and the glazed world fell silent. Using the power of the great Luo Jingxian to kill the immortal lord is an unbelievable thing. Without the chaos emperor chain, not only could Zhao Qianke be bound, he would have no resistance. Without the immortal soul hammer, a supreme immortal weapon that ignores realms and acts directly on the immortal soul. If there is no time and space fairy mirror that has perfected the laws of time and space. Both are indispensable. Even so, Zhu Yun still has a huge foundation of immortal power to support him. That is a world with hundreds of millions of creatures. Although the Liulai world is not perfect, it is almost there. Just like the Three Talents world, it only lacks the last opportunity, and Zhu Yun doesn't know what it lacks. Unlike Zhao Qianke, he knows how to solve the problem and make the world perfect. And now, Zhao Qianke died, but Zhu Feng did not regain control of the demon refining tower. The dome is still recovering, and the demon refining tower is gradually merging with the Three Talents world. Zhu Yun wanted to help, but he was powerless and could only watch as the dome slowly closed up. Could it be that this Three Talents world is going to be completed? Zhu Yun felt mixed emotions. He had never experienced this. How could he know what would happen next? Is it good or bad? Is it a blessing or a disaster? He looked down at his fairy mirror and sighed softly. Zhu Feng, I can only ask you to be well, and I can't help you at all. After that, he looked deeply at the demon refining tower. He didn't even have the chaos immortal power of the divine eye technique. And the chaos power in this world was all replenished to the sky. The top of the tower could not be seen at a glance. The next moment, Zhu Yun left this place and appeared in the glass world, collapsing at the door of the immortal mansion. He was afraid that if he didn't leave, when the sky was completely closed, he would be controlled by the Three Talents world, and then the entanglement between the worlds would make it impossible for him to recover and it would be difficult for him to leave. Not long after he left, the demon refining tower made a loud bang, and a black light appeared. At the same time, the world shook, but the countless cracks were slowly closing up. The world was actually recovering. The Three Talents world took shape. Not long after, Zhu Feng, with a solemn face, walked out of the demon refining tower and muttered to himself, the demon refining tower actually merged with this world, and I became the master of this world. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1804. Just when Zhu Feng was in disbelief, the aura on his body also changed drastically. From Jingxian, he broke through directly to Luo Jingxian. For ordinary immortals, this is a breakthrough from lower immortality to upper immortality. But Zhu Feng, at this moment, couldn't believe it at all. This level of improvement was so breakthrough that he was caught off guard. Just when his breath had just calmed down and his whole body was still exuding an inexplicable power of law, the world of Sanke was shaken again. With the demon refining tower as the center, the laws are lingering, entangled with countless black energies that appear from the demon refining tower. It can be said that Zhu Feng is actually a very special existence. Because he was practicing demonic skills, and his mind was almost connected to the demon refining tower. Now, it was entirely through the relationship between the demon refining tower and becoming the Optimus pillar of the Three Talents world that he was able to control this world that was about to collapse and did not belong to him. Is the world going to collapse? Zhu Feng was stunned and didn't know how to deal with it. After thinking about it, he got into the demon refining tower. If you stand directly here, you may not be able to feel the changes in the world of Xianxia. You can only do so through the demon refining tower. Just after Zhu Feng entered the tower, Zhu Yun also took a breath before his own immortal mansion. Master, what happened before? Only then did Xianxia ask. I met Zhu Feng. Zhu Yun sat up and leaned against the gate of the immortal mansion, feeling mixed emotions in his heart. Finally met Zhu Feng, but Zhu Feng encountered another crisis. He didn't know that the world of Xianxia would finally take shape because of the demon refining tower, nor did he know that Zhu Feng would get a world before him. Zhu Feng? Is he also in the chaos? Xianxia was stunned for a moment. Yes, not only in the chaos, but also, forget it, it's hard to say anything. I didn't even have time to chat with him, and he was most likely going to die. Having said this, Zhu Yun was silent again for a while. At this moment, he only thought about recovering as soon as possible, then solving everything, and then practicing alone. When the law of time and space is completed, he also reaches the realm of the immortal Lord. At that time, then we can use the laws of time and space to fish him out of the long river of time and space. But the problem is, he believed that the world of Xianxia had always been in chaos, and at that time he was unable to determine the specific location of the world of Xianxia. How could he find the corresponding location, pull out the long river of time and space, and fish him out? Forget it, let's leave everything to fate. Zhu Yun murmured to himself. For the first time, he felt that the long river of time and space could not save anyone he wanted. There are still certain restrictions. No matter how great his laws are, after all, they are laws that belong to the immortal world and belong to the immortal way of the immortal world. Master, haven't you always said you would go against the will of heaven? Why are you suddenly giving up on yourself? Xianxia didn't know what Zhu Yun had gone through in such a short period of time, but he couldn't help but comfort him when he heard his tone of voice was somewhat dejected. After all, whether his life will really last long in Yuanzhong still depends on Zhu Yun. Ting Tian, against heaven. Zhu Yun sighed, and recovered a little, and said, yes, we are going against heaven, but no matter how we go against heaven, we are always under this heaven. After saying that, he looked up at Jushin again. In the glazed world, the fire of the sun shines on the earth and spreads all over the mortal world here. Zhu Yun's eyes fell to the ground, but he saw swarms of ragged mortals. He was slightly stunned. These were the mortals he had transferred from the Xianxia world to the Liulai world. At this moment, they were still far away, kneeling quietly on the ground, bathing in the sun, but their eyes were fixed on Zhu Yun. A faint power of faith rose from everyone's head, and finally merged into one, rushing towards Zhu Yun. Zhu Yun was able to recover some of the chaos immortal power because of the power of their faith. Master, do you think they are going along with heaven or against heaven? Suddenly, Xianxia asked a very profound question. Zhu Yun seemed to understand what Xianxia said, to them, I am their god. He turned his head and looked at the dragon suppressing stone, which was also meaningful. Yes, Master, in this world, you are their heaven, and also the heaven of all our creatures. Including me, including others, including World Tree and World Mountain, and even the Destiny Orcs. Because, we are all tainted with the way of heaven here. Zhu Yun nodded and said, yes, unless you jump out of this world, then I will not be your heaven. They all hope that this glazed world will be completed, so that they can ascend to the fairy world. Just to jump out of the heaven here, but don't go against me. Yes, Master, Xianxia also realized a lot during the conversation with Zhu Yun, and said, Master, what's wrong with obeying heaven, and what's wrong with going against heaven? From what I see, we have to obey our hearts. No matter whatever happens to him, I just want to live a comfortable life. Indeed, for you, you have no ambitions. You just want to live forever. Having said this, Zuyun smiled, and he vaguely understood something. Going against the will of heaven and earth is nothing more than a slogan that some people shout to be acceptable. Even if you go against heaven and earth, you will always live under the rules of this world. If you really go against it, you will only go against it by flying out of this world. Based on his knowledge of World Star. Generally speaking, ascension is just the current rule, which can no longer restrict people, so he will be transferred to a higher level world. It's not that it's against the rules, and it can't accommodate him. In an instant, Zuyun understood, his mind was clear, and he no longer entangled in this matter. Zhu Feng has his own life, he said, looking at the dragon stone, and I don't think he will die so easily. Wan Potion said that Zhu Feng is gifted, and the demon refining tower is also an extraordinary thing. Maybe it was just an ordinary fairy weapon, but after so many years of contact with Zhu Feng, and after appearing in the fairy world from the lower world, perhaps one person and one tower have long been special. And the important thing is, the demon refining tower is stained with the law of time, and it has its own law of space. Maybe. Will Zhu Feng live well in the demon refining tower at the critical moment? Even if the world collapses, the demon refining tower will exist well, just like when Huang Mingxian collapsed, Meng Hui's magic knife was intact. And they also met Situ Ching Chen because of the magic knife, and then slowly understood the fairy world. Zuyun figured it out, and naturally, he was no longer depressed. Then, I will start to recover, Dragonstone, you should also take good care of yourself. In the end, he tried his best, as if he was risking his life, to transform all the original power into chaotic fairy power and pass it to Zuyun. Not to mention that he was a little depressed, even the entire Liulai world was the same. Master, I just need to go to sleep, but, there is still a question I can't figure out. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1805. Still have any questions? Whatever the problem is, you name it. Zuyun was stunned for a moment and looked away. He was still thinking about how to arrange the mortals from the world of Sankei. Now that you have decided to bring them here, you have to settle them down. Otherwise, it would be somewhat irresponsible. Zhenlong Shi said, previously, the water of Hualong Pond also had some changes. Endless dragon power emerged from it, and it also entered the immortal mansion. The situation was urgent at that time, and I didn't care about anything else. Seeing that dragon power can transform into chaotic fairy power, it was simply transformed at the same time. Hualong Pond. Zuyun suddenly frowned. He took the Hualong Pond out of the immortal mansion with the intention that one day he could directly return the Hualong Pond to the true dragon clan, but he never thought that he would be able to control the dragon power within it. He is considered a beneficiary of the Hualong Pond. He uses the Hualong Pond as an ascension pond to shape his body. In fact, Zuyun's body is equivalent to the body of a real dragon, but he has never felt it in detail. But this was not the reason why the dragon power in the dragon transformation pond took the initiative to be used by him. So master, you'd better take a closer look. Although to this day, I have never felt the existence of the true dragon clan, but maybe. I understand, Zuyun smiled and said, you go to bed, and I will go to the Hualong Pond to take a look. The dragon suppressing stone nodded, then turned into a red light and returned to the immortal mansion plaque. Zuyun also flew up, and the next moment, it appeared above the heads of the billions of mortals. But Zuyun did not stand high, but said with a warm gaze, you can find a place to live in this world. But remember, don't kill each other or fight internally. When you encounter some mysterious places, you can also don't rush in. Otherwise, I won't blame you for being rude. The sound reached everyone's ears. After falling, all of them fell to their knees. At this time, the golden light arrived, and Zhou Guan stepped on the pseudo-immortal weapon from the foot of the world mountain. Owner. He slightly cupped his hands and followed Zhu Yun to greet him. What, you want to take the initiative to settle them? Zhu Yun immediately knew what Zhou Gun was thinking. Master, they should be mortals from the mysterious world star, right? I know a little bit about them and can arrange them well. Xian level world star. Zhu Yun was stunned. He didn't even know which level of heaven and earth Xian Huang it would be after the world of San Ke was formed. How did Zhou Guan see it? Zhou Guan scratched his head and said with a smile, Master, our original Qingping star is a heaven-level world star, so our talent comes from the immortal root, and the power of cultivation is also the existence closest to the immortal power, so we call it pseudo-immortal power. In the earth-level world, talents are divided into yin and yang, and cultivation is also divided into yin and yang. It can also be yang or yin. Yang can cultivate sunlight, and yin can cultivate moonlight. It can also be positive and negative. In short, there are only two methods of cultivation. This is the law of earth-level world stars. These mortals are divided into heaven, earth, and humans based on the three talents. Heavenly roots, earthly roots, and human roots are collectively called the three talents. That's why I know they come from the Xian level world. Zhu Yun narrowed his eyes and asked again, then those who practice the four symbols, 5 elements, etc. will be classified as yellow level world stars. It should be. After all, the cultivation system is not simply distinguished by these. In fact, as long as the cultivation is complete, no matter which one it is, it doesn't matter. It's like the master comes from the yellow level world star. Although the 5 elements of spiritual power, the level is not high, and it can be cultivated to great achievements, and its plasticity is no worse than our immortal roots. It's just that the starting point is different and the path is different, but the end point is the same as the immortal world. Zhu Yun nodded with a smile and handed over this important task to Zhou Gun, but he couldn't help but think in his heart, now that my glazed world has all kinds of systems, then when the world is completed, it will be like a mysterious world. Which world? Shaking his head, he couldn't figure it out, so he simply said goodbye to Zhou Gun and flew to the ancestral land of the Destiny Beast clan. At the foot of Jixian Mountain, the dragon transformation pond was surging. Zhu Yun flew over and stepped on the Orc Trials trial platform. Immortal consciousness circulates, and the situation in the water of Hualong Pond can be seen at a glance. The 12 totem stone statues transformed by the Destiny Beast clan have not changed much and are still standing firmly in the pool. Zhu Yun sat down cross-legged and didn't know what he was thinking, but he started practicing directly here. The original power of the Immortal Mansion is allowed to exist in the Immortal Mansion. As for him, he just wanted to recover a little directly. He couldn't understand why Hualong Pond was like this, so he simply stopped thinking about it. If we can meet the true dragon clan in the fairy world, the worst thing is to return it to them. Whose it is, it belongs to whom? Why should I worry about this? Shaking his head, Zhu Yunjing calmed down. However, in the southern fairyland, the position that originally belonged to Qingping star suddenly bloomed with an ultimate starlight. A newborn world star suddenly appeared in this position when the starlight dispersed. It reaches the sea of chaotic stars in the north, the demon realm passage in the west, and both the south and east belong to the southern fairyland. Many creatures discovered this newborn world star. But no one cares. It's just a sudden appearance of the world star, which is completely normal. In the fairy world, world stars appear from time to time, but in the end, these world stars will become a deserted land, and no one will care. At most, it's just a foothold for one party. The target of the extraterrestrial demon is only the depths of the southern fairyland. The demons in the Chaos Star Sea pay more attention to the gossip that has come out from the Holy Demon clan recently. As for the southern fairyland, Nangong Tianli died a long time ago. Without the immortal emperor, heroes are divided. Every immortal wants to occupy the territory. Not to mention the Lushan immortal, some Xianxian dare to establish themselves as kings in a wasteland, exploiting ordinary immortals to mine and grow medicine for them. That's why this place has become a paradise for extraterritorial demons and evil immortals. In the entire southern fairyland, many creatures have paid close attention to this place. True Dragon Clan. The world star there seems to have a touch of our pure true dragon breath. A dull voice sounded, coming from the current clan leader Dragon King. Clan leader, it's too close to the demon world passage. Could it be the work of the extraterritorial demons? Could it be that they want to attack our dragon clan? There are also dragon clan elders who are cautious. Yes, clan leader, our true dragon ancestral land has been hidden in the southern fairyland for so long that our bloodline has been continued. What if? If something happens, who knows what these foreign demons will do? It is related to the reproduction of the clan. I think it is better to stay away from them. Some foreign demons are more cunning than humans. We should be more cautious. Listening to the words of the clan members, the Dragon King did not speak for a long time. Until he suddenly sighed in his heart and said, "Find a way to go to the central fairyland and find the Phoenix King or the Phoenix Queen, listen to their opinions.